Why, hello there, everyone. Welcome to the Independence Public Library's Maker Monday. As always, I am Mr. Alex, and today I would like to take some time to talk about bridges. Bridges, the structures that we use to cross from one place to another. Now, at their heart, they're probably one of the most obvious kinds of problems and solutions that we come across in the realm of physics. Obvious problem, let's say that we're right here, we're driving our car and we come to a cliffside. We are stuck here and we want to get over here. Now, how do we get across? Well, oftentimes if we want to make the journey more than once, we're going to make a bridge. That way everyone can walk, drive, bike, and get from one side to the other whenever they need to. And so that is the heart of what we're talking about today. But when we're talking about bridges, one of the most important things we need to think about is the support. Because if we make a bridge and there's not good enough support, well, then there's not really much keeping you from falling or having the bridge break when you go across it if it's too heavy. As an example, let's see what happens when we decide to try crossing from one side to the other with a bridge with very little support. Ouch! And as you can see, that's what happens if you try to drive or walk or go across a bridge that's not supported well enough for the weight going across it. In this case, the bridge was not sufficiently supported so that it wouldn't just collapse underneath this car that's trying to go across. So, today I want to talk specifically about suspension bridges, which are bridges that are supported up by cables that run from one side to the other and hold up the bridge from the top rather than from the bottom. So a good example of this is the Golden Gate Bridge. If you've ever seen pictures, and I'm sure you have, of the Golden Gate Bridge, that's a type of suspension bridge. And they work, in the simplest definition, by having towers on each side of where the bridge goes and cables or wires of something else that connect from the towers all the way across the length of the bridge and then hold up the bridge from the sides like that. That's how suspension bridges work. So when you go across a bridge that's being suspended like that, the cables coming from the top of the bridge right here carry the weight and the tension and all of the energy from the car going across it, and it carries it over to the towers here, which are normally very sturdy on one side of the bridge. So we're basically taking all of that tension and that force that the car is exerting when it's going across downwards on the bridge, and the bridge is basically passing that over to the tower here to deal with that over here. Rather than other bridges oftentimes that, will be built with structures beneath it to push into the ground. In this case, the cables hold it up. And so that's what we're going to be making today. And so in order to do that, you're going to need a piece of cardboard that you can use as a bridge. You're going to need craft tubes that we're going to use in order to create our towers. We're going to need string or something else that you can use as a cable to connect our bridge together from one side to the other. We're going to need tape to keep this all together, and finally, we're going to need a ruler in order to measure everything together. So the first thing that we're going to do, just pushing this all to the side, is we're going to take our bridge that we're going to use, and we're going to figure out exactly how we're going to keep this up. We're going to measure some distance from the side. I imagine that 1/2 inch is good. So on each part right here, measure 1/2 inch. and then we connect it together. So voila, we've got this right here, our bridge with two lines running across it, each about a ½ inch from the edge. And it kind of looks like a set of railroad tracks. What we're going to do from this point is we're going to measure along there every so often, every time that we want to connect it to the cable, and we're going to poke holes in it real quick. So let's say here, let's measure 2 inches. Every 2 inches on each line, we're going to make a mark. Okay, and just like that, we've measured out along our 2 lines of our bridge. We've made marks every 2 inches from the start to the end on both sides. And what these are going to be is where our cables connect to our bridge to hold it up. So what we need to do is we need to poke holes at all of those spots so that we can put our cable through it and, give a place for our bridge to connect to the cable. So if your pencil is sharp enough, or if your cardboard is thin enough and you can easily poke through, you can do it like that, or with a pen. But honestly, the best thing that you can do, if you've got one available, is to take a hole punch, just like this, and poke holes in your piece of cardboard, right where you made the spots. Okay, so now that we've got the holes punched in our piece of cardboard, the next thing we need to do is make it so that we're able to connect the cable to our bridge base right here. What we're going to do is we're going to tie loops around here through the hole so that the cable can run through them. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. But basically, we're going to take a piece of string and we're going to run it through, tie a loop-de-loop, go through the other hole, tie a loop-de-loop, come out, and we're going to tape it down from the back or glue it if you've got glue available. So all you're going to need to do is start with your string right here, and let's get started with that real quick. Okay, and as you can see there, we've now got our piece of cardboard, our base of our bridge, beautifully, covered in the loops that we're going to use to suspend the cable. And I made sure to do all of them off camera, just because I didn't want to make you guys wait, because once you've done one pair, all the rest are the same. And it can take some time. So I feel like I'll save you guys some time and have it already done. So now we set it on where we want to connect our bridge with. And as you can see, it's not really doing much because, well, we've got the loops. They're not being supported by anything. What we need to do is create something that can hold up our cable to run through the loops and suspend the bridge. So let's get started on making our towers. And a quick and easy way to do that is to use either, paper towel tube, I cut this one in half, or half of a craft tube, and we're going to connect it to some sort of base. And you can have that base, connect the whole thing right here. I'm going to do each one individually and then connect it to our structure right here. And so a very simple way to do that is just take this and tape it together until it's sturdy all the way around. Using glue is even better because that's going to be probably an even sturdier structure. But tape will work just fine if you make sure to be thorough enough. We just want to make sure that the craft tube is not going to leave its base anytime soon. And there we go. Just like that, we've got one tower. So we could set it there and connect our cable, run it through, but our tower itself is not very well supported and will fall pretty easily. You can fix this by taping it or connecting it some other way to whatever it's on. In this case, I'm going to put it underneath the rubber band that's holding these DVD cases together. And I'll add a little bit of tape. And I'm going to make it a bit heavier so it's less likely to move. Filling it with rocks or marbles or something like that will make it even sturdier. And so what you need to do is make 4 of these up, and then we're going to connect it together with a cable. Okay, as you can see now, I've got my 4 towers made up, and when they're all ready to go, what we're going to do is, just like this one, we're going to attach them to where they need to go. But before I do that, I'm going to show you what we're going to do once they're in that position. So we're going to have 2 pieces of string that you cut to make sure they're equal length. I measured that even if you can't see it very well. And that's going to be our cable that connects the bridge from one side to the other. And once you've got everything in position, you're just going to loop our cable through all of the loops that we've tied on the bridge on one side, and then we'll do the same thing on the second one, the second side with the second string. And then, assuming both the towers are set up where they're going to be, we're going to connect them together, and thus we're going to have ourselves a bridge. So I'm going to go set that up real quick, and then let's see how well our car fares this time around. There you go. As you can see, our bridge, now that it's being supported by our suspension cables right here, our car was able to get from one side to the other, multiple times in fact. Whereas before, when our bridge didn't have very much support, the whole thing just collapsed. Which really goes to show just how important support is when you're thinking about building bridges or any other big structure like this. You have to make sure that it's safe for people to use. Our suspension bridge is one way that you can make sure that a bridge is, really supported and secure. Some of the great things about building them is they oftentimes take less materials than other bridges and can sometimes be built longer distances because of how flexible they are. But that flexibility sometimes comes at a price. As you can see, a little bit of wind is all that it takes. If we spread this out a little bit further, a little bit of wind is all that it takes to get the whole thing moving and bending and twisting all over the place, which can sometimes be dangerous. There's very, very famous videos of suspension bridges in like windstorms just going all over the place. Other bridges, much more sturdy and don't do that. It's just one of the interesting quirks about building a suspension bridge. But there we go. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed making this. Feel free to make this as long as you want or modify it and see what your engineering brain can come up with. But that's all I have for you today. So as always, take care everyone and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.